Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Paul Lopez.
And I am Isana Kersano. Good morning.
It's Thursday, Sonny. Around
Yes.
here, we refer to Thursdays as Friday Junior in anticipation of the fact that the week is coming to an end. You know, I just want to say that wherever you are out there, we hope that you are having a blessed morning. We are always thankful to have you on with us. We're thankful that you are choosing Open Your Eyes as your morning show of choice. We know that if you're out there returning from your exercise, perhaps you're just waking up and you're pouring your first cup of coffee, whatever it is that you are doing right now, we just want to say thank you for being with us this morning. Isani?
Friday Junior, I call it Thursday. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I mean,
Everyone understands it and knows it as such, right?
either way, it is the signal that the week is coming to an end. It
Yes.
has been a hectic week. I know for you, you've been a mainstay, at least this week, on the morning show. We've seen your face. We've gotten
More
the
often than necessary.
more often than necessary, you put it. All right. But Isani, let's talk about what's buzzing this morning, as we do every single morning right here on the morning show.
What's buzzing is that I want to have a live interview with you.
Okay, there
Yes,
you go.
So I
Yeah.
know you are racking up
Yeah.
your number of awards.
Okay.
So is Dwayne. But
Yeah.
I haven't had the chance of speaking with Dwayne in person as he's still traveling back to Belize. So
Yeah.
I'll take the What's Buzzing opportunity this morning to speak with you about the feeling of success in this small industry of ours.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've only just joined us for a few years here at Great Belize Television, but you've been putting in the work. And I wanted to take the opportunity to give you your flowers while you're here on the set with me this
Thank you.
morning. So I just wanted to begin by asking you to share with us your feeling of this kind of accomplishment.
You know, it's been quite the journey here at Channel 5. I must say that every single day, it's a lot of work. There's a lot to do, and in the execution of all that there is on a daily basis, there isn't much time to think about whether or not a story is an award-winning story. You know, I personally don't necessarily, for the majority of the time, don't go out saying, all right, I'll go and do this story, and this will be my award-winning piece. No, I, as my colleagues in the newsroom and the cameramen and editors do, we go out and we execute the task that is handed to us on the day. And when that task is accomplished, we get the types of products that we get, that we're able to submit for these various award categories. And it happens that because of the level of work we're producing, because of the manner in which we approach our task in terms of the professionalism, in terms of the dedication we put in on a daily basis, it results in the types of awards and the amounts of awards we are able to rack up on a yearly basis at the CBUs. And so for me, that's what the experience has been like. It has taught me that awards come from daily dedication. An award-winning individual or award-winning team is defined by the effort that team is willing to put in on a daily basis. So when I come to work, I know that it means that I have to be locked in, I have to be focused, and sometimes, honestly, it means that I have to put aside conversations with family. I have to put aside conversations with friends, and then I have to put that out there for those who ask me often. Well, why I message you for a morning and you only just respond to me 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night? Well, I have to put aside a lot of these conversations, these more light-hearted, lighter conversations, because the task at hand requires us to be so zoned in and so locked in most of the time. There are those lighter days that I've come to wholeheartedly appreciate as well, because that's when you get to be more flexible in terms of managing your time. But most days it's just grind, 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 and that's what wins awards. And so I've come to learn and appreciate that.
The feeling is also rewarding.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you mentioned two important things, right? The idea of teamwork, as I always impress upon you guys, it's never a solo venture, right? From the simple fact that an assignment is given to a reporter and a cameraman, that's already a team. When it comes to the business of the newsroom in terms of assigning stories, editing stories, and so on, that is also a team effort.
Yeah.
And so when we look at our nightly product, it's a collaborative effort between the newsroom, the technical, and everybody behind the scenes that are working together. And so it's a fulfilling thing when, I'm speaking for myself here, it's a fulfilling thing when I see you guys, you know, shine in the manner in which you do, because sometimes I'm tough on you guys, you know,
of course,
but it's
all
a matter,
the time, Sonny.
but it's a matter of knowing what we want and
Right.
putting out what we believe and know to be the best product that our viewers would want to see and want to learn from. And so I just wanted to take that opportunity to kind of share with you how I feel about the work of the newsroom and what we're doing, and of course how you guys feel about the output and the amount of dedication that you guys are putting into getting out the stories. As you've mentioned, and perhaps rightly so, you don't set out with the thought that, okay, I'm gunning for an award with this story. It's only a matter of going out there and telling the story in as best as possible means you can. And the reward is evident.
You know, and of course, for those who may not be aware, we're talking about the Caribbean Broadcasting Union Awards, which just was held on Tuesday night in Antigua. That's in a Caribbean country, and we had our CEO Marlene Cuellar there, as well as Dwayne Moody and Rick Romero. But Isani, I liken the task that we have in the newsroom onto a search party, per se, only because that's one of the immediate stories that comes to mind of teamwork and team effort, right? Whereas there's multiple hands on deck or multiple vessels out at sea searching, and for one singular purpose. And while it may be that not all 10 vessels will find the individual that is being sought, those 10 vessels being out there, or AKA win the award, all 10 vessels or all 10 individuals or the entire team won't necessarily win the award. Those 10 vessels being out there allowed that one vessel that found the individual to be at that location because of the amount of area that a team is able to cover. If I'm out there doing a financial story, somebody has to be on that side doing the crime story. Somebody has to be on that side doing the human interest story, because there's a lot to do on that day. And it just so happens that on that day, it's the financial story that won the award. But in its entirety, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish that task if it wasn't for my team saying, well, I will take this on and I will take that on. So again, it's a team effort, and it all boils down to teamwork from the start to the finish. And so when I think about success, at least in this capacity, that's one of the first things that comes to mind, teamwork and team effort. So yeah.
Well said. All right, I just wanted to quiz you on that as the What's Buzzing topic this morning because I have you on the couch with me.
Wonderful, and I know that Marian did an excellent piece last night doing an in-depth look at the awards we won, interviewing the individuals. And so if you want to take a look at that, of course, you could go online at news5belize.com, or you could also catch that on Facebook or in our repeat newscast, that specific story. But what we're going to do right now is we are going to get into our eye-opener for this morning. And of course, on a daily basis, it's taken from dailyarm.com, and it goes like this. It says, like yin and yang, spirituality and physicality are two sides of creating genuine well-being. The popular phrase, your body is your temple, is a temple, shares a concept found in all the spiritual traditions throughout the world. As a metaphor, it signifies the body's role as a vessel that houses our soul. Our physical body is the vehicle that carries our life force, and through it, we experience the world around us and interact with others. Imagining our body as a temple can inspire us to be more mindful and loving in the ways that we treat ourselves. When we acknowledge that our spiritual self deserves a well-cared-for physical home, it motivates us to tend to our body's needs, to give it respect, and to allow the body to express its true authenticity. Like yin and yang, they are two sides of living and fulfilling life. To neglect one in the favor of the other leaves us feeling off balance. By caring for our physical health, we cultivate more inner peace and happiness. It is through this harmonious flow that we create genuine well-being. It's interesting eye-opener.
I grew up as a child being taught that your body is the temple of the Lord.
Yeah.
And that expression itself speaks to the harmony between your spiritual self and your physical being. And being able to synchronize the two is often a challenge.
Right.
Because we're so often consumed in the here and now that we don't take time to say, well, let me bring together the two aspects of my existence, right? My spiritual self and my physical self. We're either only concerned about what we're doing physically, or we veer off into where we're so spiritual that it can render us out of touch with everything else too, as two extremes, right? So the eye-opener, I think for me, speaks perfectly to that, because I think for me, part of my journey is to be able to find that balance, right?
It is.
Between spirituality, deep spirituality, and enjoying the physical presence and the physical being. And there are many challenges, right? There are many challenges where that is concerned, simply because you're easily led astray based on your own ideas, based on the people you surround yourself with and what have you. But when you find time and you say, okay, you know what? Let me remove myself from everything. Let me sort of sequester myself and be able to bring everything back in tune. It's a beautiful experience. It's one of those feelings where I always tell people, prayers, right? Deep reverence brings you to that point.
Yeah.
But it can't just be about that, right? The physical aspect of it is being able to do something. And in this case, take care of yourself. Because that's the only way you can maintain that level of spirituality, is if you maintain a level of physical health and well-being.
And I agree with you, Sani. It's all about balance. And it's not easy when you take it from the literal sense in terms of what you consume. I'm talking physically, what you ingest within your body, the workout schedule or the exercise schedule that you make for yourself. It's challenging on a daily basis for many out there, in the individuals who may have a physical goal in mind, has been visualizing a certain body type for some time, but have constantly come against a wall because of the various challenges. one of the things I found often is that the level at which you're engaged spiritually tends to affect your physical being as well, in terms of the level at which you're engaged physically helps you either to maintain some level of physical strength, or that oftentimes deteriorates. But wonderful eye-opener, Isani.
Indeed it is.
That was it. We just hope you took something away from that. What we're going to do now is we're going to get right into our weather for this morning, and I believe we have forecaster Derek Rudon. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Rudon. How are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing good, sir. Thank you. How are you all doing?
We are
Good.
doing fine. Thank you very much. All right, so let's jump right into it. What do you have for us this morning?
Okay, conditions are slightly moist and a bit unstable, and that will continue for today, so we can expect sunny skies with cloudy spells today, along with a few showers and isolated thunderstorms to develop mainly over southern and central areas this morning, and then showers will become isolated this afternoon.
In terms of the outlook, what do you have for us?
Okay, the outlook for tomorrow, we are expecting mainly fair and warm weather with only isolated showers.
And in terms of our temperatures, Mr. Rudon?
Okay, highs today will be around 88 Fahrenheit along the coast, 92 inland, and only 79 degrees up in the mountains. The lows tonight, 82 Fahrenheit over the coast, 74 inland, 68 up in the hills.
You told us about Friday. Can you tell us what it will look like going into the rest of the weekend, what the forecast is like?
Okay, Saturday and Sunday should be mainly fair, again with isolated showers or isolated thunderstorms. Showers are expected to increase Sunday night, but so most of the weekend should be generally fair.
All right. Any sort of watches, warnings, or advisories out there at this time?
At the moment, there is none.
All right. Well, Mr. Redon, thank you so much for your time, as usual.
You're welcome.
All right. And so there we have it, Tisani. A bit more rain to expect this morning, and then that kind of subsides over the weekend, and then we're going to get a bit of mostly sunshine on Saturday, Sunday, Friday, even into this afternoon. So that does it for our weather. What we're going to do now, though, we're going to get into our show, because we have 4 segments this morning, 4 conversations. Yes. And so we got a lot to get in, a lot to talk about. And the first conversation is with our friend Diana Shaw from the Child Development Foundation, and she'll be in with us to discuss the issue of domestic violence and a couple of other topics.
Our second conversation this morning is an interesting one that is all too familiar for us, and that has to do with price control. We're all feeling the effects of inflation and price gouging and all these other factors, and so we will have someone join us this morning to discuss price control.
And then our third conversation is all about Korean food market. What's that about? You want to stay tuned to hear that discussion.
Our final conversation this morning will be closing off with a conversation regarding sports in Belmopan. And so we'll have members of the National Sports Council to sit with us this morning to discuss what's happening by way of sporting activities in the Garden City.
Now, before we get into all of that, of course, we're going to take our first break, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
Make your summer better. Over $30,000 in cash and prizes with Smart Summer Sweepstakes. Here's how you can enter for a chance to win. Sign up for a Smart postpaid, broadband, or VoIP plan. Use $100 or more regular prepaid credit. Do a SIM swap or text in to the short code 786. In the body of the message, enter the number of entries you would like to purchase.
No waste no time. You can be the winner of weekly prizes. All methods give you more chances to win local airline tickets, overnight stays at numerous resorts, cash prizes, gift certificates, and much, much more. One lucky person will win the grand prize valued at $10,000, courtesy of Mart and the Belize Tourism Board.
Promotion ends September 15th. So make your summer better by getting in the race to win with Smart's Summer Sweepstakes. Smart, bringing people together.
KTV The Remix Season 5, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Come on out and win fabulous prizes and the chance to compete in our halftime challenge. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Pony Drive and 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard. $3 for children and $5 for adults. Or catch it live on Channel 5, Facebook, and YouTube every Tuesday at 8 p.m. from the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. Don't miss KTV The Remix Season 5. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
All right, and we are back with our first conversation on this lovely Thursday morning. And as we said, we have joining us via Zoom, Diana Shaw, who's the Executive Director at the Child Development Foundation. And she's joining us to tell us more about her work and her team's work at CDF. Good morning, Ms. Shaw.
Good morning. Good morning, Belize. Thank you all for having me. It's good to be on Open Your Eyes this morning.
I know that you are no stranger to Open Your Eyes and to the nation. In fact, you've been the voice and the face of many issues pertaining to domestic violence and child abuse, etc., human trafficking as well. Let's talk a bit about the work at the CDF. How did this work begin? What inspired you to establish this organization and the team that's working behind this organization?
Well, I like to say that this was purely a God idea. I'm an attorney at law by profession, and I came to Belize because I was recruited to join a law firm to be an attorney.
Yes.
And I came here practicing law, and my big dream was to get a lot of money. I would practice law, get rich, buy a house on the beach, and a red BMW. This is a dream I've had since I was a teenager. And when I came to Belize, I ferociously started on that dream. When I started in court, I was regarded as one of the very aggressive young attorneys. And I was making headways into that dream. But I had promised my mom before I came to Belize that when I came, I would find a church and settle down in the church, because she was very concerned that I would be led astray by all the money and the hype. And I joined Central Assemblies of God Church in Belize City.
Yeah.
And in Central Assemblies of God Church, they put me to volunteer with the children's ministry. As my mother said, I need to find something in the church to do. And she kept calling and asking what I was doing. So I went to the pastor and said, what do you have that I can do? At the time thinking I was just going to be singing some songs to children and teaching them Bible stories. And we did that, but then we started to encounter more challenging situations. Some of the children confided to me that they were experiencing abuse. And then as part of the children's ministry team, we started to really pray about these issues, and I really felt burdened that this was something that the church needed to have a more active response in than just reporting to the police, but that we needed to be engaging families even earlier. So I started speaking to the other children's ministry teachers. I think at that time we had Sister Paul, who was there leading us. And we also started to reach out to the Department of Human Services to get information, because I had no background in any of that.
Yeah.
And we got training, and then we started to engage families. And I really felt a call to do that and a burden to meet children and families where they were to provide intervention and to get them help. So that became a lifelong commitment. And actually, so much so that I really started to pray about whether this is what I really should be doing instead of doing law. And God confirmed that to me and also to my dad, who was then in Jamaica. And my dad supported me in leaving full-time law practice. The rest of my family was very confused about this. They had invested many thousands of dollars in my education to get me to become an attorney. And my mother had the plan that I was her pension plan. That she had invested all her money so that when she get old, I could take care of her. And now I was telling her I was going to leave law with no idea of what income, how I would live or pay bills, because I wanted to help children and to work in the church. So it was at that time a very strange thing, even for other attorneys, when this started to get around. A lot of other attorneys didn't understand why I wanted to do that. But I really felt that that's what I should be doing. So I left my full-time job and started just volunteering in the church I was at, and then with other churches, to help to equip Sunday school teachers to better understand the signs that a child in Sunday school was likely to be a victim of trafficking or child abuse, or that women may even be abused in their homes, and the fact that they were in church did not insulate them from this. In fact, if we properly understand scripture, we will know that, one, we are supposed to be the people that receive all the broken people, whether they are victims of abuse or even those who are abusers and perpetrators of abuse. We are supposed to receive them in their brokenness and to walk with them in the journey to healing and to recovery. So I really felt that that's what I should be doing, especially with children who were victims of abuse and women who were victims of domestic violence. And I started reaching out to other women who felt the same way that I did. And we started a group of us just praying for women, doing services where we would meet other women from other women's group and started to hear what they were experiencing and walk through them to get safety, get their children to safety, work with the police, with human services. And after a while, it took over my whole life, that I couldn't do it alone, and eventually had to formally incorporate the organization, the Child Development Foundation, which we incorporated in 2008, to have a better structure to be able to provide help. Since then, we have developed the Counseling Center in Belmopan. We have developed a number of prevention programs for schools and communities to get information into the communities about child abuse. We want people to understand the indicators of abuse. We want people to understand why abuse happens. We want for families to be more involved in preventing abuse and then reporting abuse when it happens and seeking help for children who have been abused to support their recovery. But we also find in the years that we have been doing this, that abuse is connected and often intergenerational. So a lot of the cases that you are seeing where a child is being abused, there is probably the mother or another woman in that family who is also a victim of domestic violence or who was a victim of abuse themselves. And now what we're seeing is we have a nation of very wounded and traumatized people who have inherited trauma from abuse, and that trauma has impacted their parenting ability, that's impacted their ability to provide safety for their children. And we also have a culture of impunity for perpetrators, where for generations we have had men and women, because we have identified women perpetrators as well as male perpetrators, but by far, most of the perpetrators that have been identified have been men, where men have passed on generational abuse. They have continued to abuse women and children through generations without any impunity, whether being confronted by other family members, whether being confronted by the community, whether being confronted by the law, whether being confronted by the church. None of that has happened.
If I could interject here, Diana, what you're describing is a cycle that
Yes.
we face in society, and we're all too familiar with this vicious cycle. I hate the use of the cliche, hurt people, but that's exactly what you are describing for us, where you're looking at generations of persons who have been victims of abuse themselves, passing on that hurt and that hate to others who are vulnerable in a younger generation that they are. And so this seems to be somewhat perpetual. How do we begin to break this particular cycle? Because you're looking at something that has become somewhat ingrained, not only in society, but in many families.
Yeah. So the first thing that we do, and we say, one, you have to pray. That's always the first step for me. Because prayer is important to break the atmosphere and some of the spiritual forces around that. Because when something becomes so endemic, it not only has physical manifestations, there is also a spiritual element to it. And part of that is the culture of silence. People feel shamed into speaking out because the society blames victims. The society, because they're in their own pain and in their own hurt and don't want to acknowledge their own trauma, they push that anger on persons who are speaking out. And that becomes like a spiritual force that keeps people silent when they should speak out against abuse. So one of the main things that we do is to pray to break that. And we are seeing that happening now. With exposures that are happening where people are speaking out, even after many years, those things are important. We need to encourage more of that. Even if the abuse happened 30 years ago, don't let people tell you, you should just get over it. You should forget about that. You shouldn't bother talk about that anymore. No, you need to talk about it because you need to break that culture of silence. We need to acknowledge, before you can be healed of hurt, you have to acknowledge that hurt occurred. So the first and most important thing we need to encourage is for people to speak out. They need not to be silent. They need, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's you were trafficked as a child, your family sold you to somebody because they wanted money for something, or whether you were abused by a family member or somebody that you trusted, whether it was a teacher or a pastor or somebody in leadership, you need to speak out. You need to break that culture of silence. Because we need, for us to move on to healing and recovery, we have to acknowledge that hurt has happened.
You also
can't
have
be
to,
healed.
you
There
have
is
to,
no hurt.
Yes, you have to find means of venting
Yes.
the psychological and emotional impact of having been abused in any form, for that matter.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So encourage speaking out and then direct people to safe outlets. Safe persons that they can speak to. Now, not everyone is a safe person. And it doesn't mean that's because somebody has the badge or the position of a teacher or a pastor or a nurse or a doctor, doesn't necessarily mean that automatically that they're safe people. We would like that to be so. But unfortunately, that's not the reality. Because we know that many perpetrators hide behind those same badges because it gives them access to people who are vulnerable, people who are wounded, who they will then they perpetrate their abuse on.
And I'm glad that you're going in that direction. So let me
find
ask you,
safe people. And when we say safe people, look to see, one, their record. What is their record of being safe for vulnerable people? Ask people, is this somebody that when you speak to them, they're understanding, or are they being judgmental and condemning? Are they telling you to ignore the abuse or to get over it? Or are they acknowledging that wrong was done and encouraging you to seek help? That's so you know if it's a safe person. Secondly, you know if it's a safe person because they respect boundaries. Sorry, Isani, go ahead.
No. I'm trying to get in the fact that I'm glad you've sort of gone in this direction, simply because what do you do in a situation where you're turning to your church brother or sister for the kind of comfort if you're vulnerable in any situation, and these are in some instances the very people that prey on you, no pun intended. I know that abuse exists in many facets of society, but church is always seen as the refuge, so to speak, where you can go and seek out an individual, perhaps a pastor, a church brother or sister, to share your experiences with, and in some cases, they take advantage of it.
So unfortunately, that has occurred. And I want to make it clear that not every pastor is an abuser. That the cases of abuse that we have encountered in the church are actually fewer than other places. So most churches are safe places for children and youth. But not everybody who is in the church is a safe person.
Yeah.
So we want for parents to be vigilant when you entrust your children to church programs, whether it's VBS, whether it's Sunday school, whether it's a summer camp. Ask questions about what's the structure of accountability. Who is there supervising the leaders? What training has been provided for these leaders that they can be vigilant about safety concerns for children? You have a right to ask those questions. And if the church is iffing and butting and they don't have a plan and they're telling you, well, nobody not will abuse anybody, we don't need to look out for that, you probably should not have your child join that camp, because it means that that church will be blinded to the actions of perpetrators because they're not being vigilant. The only thing that prevents children from being abused and that minimizes the work of perpetrators is vigilance. Perpetrators are not going to say, well, this is a church, I won't go there and abuse children. No, they are going to find those places where people are not being vigilant, where they are not having proper checks and balances, where there isn't proper supervision, and they're going to infiltrate. So if your church is not putting in proper supervision for leaders, you're not putting in proper training to ensure that you can identify what are the situations that are going to put children at risk, then your church will be vulnerable. So parents need to ask those questions.
Let's talk a bit more about that, Ms. Shaw, to speak to what are some of the trainings or some of the safeguards that you would recommend churches to have, because I think due to recent conversations and what has been in the news of recent, there are churches out there now becoming more vigilant and are asking, all right, what are the steps that I need to take now that I may have overlooked, or what particular positions do I perhaps need to create within the church to provide these types of safeguards that are needed, so that while we execute reform per se, we also ensure that those under our care are safe from abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a necessary and a good conversation. So the first thing the church needs to do is to start to screen the persons that have direct contact with children. Anybody who is a Sunday school teacher, youth leader, youth pastor, anybody that's working directly with children, you need to do background checks. And background checks mean that you have to ask questions about where they were serving before. If they have never served in any church or any leadership position before, then you need to have a period of training where you get to observe their interaction with children. You put measures in place in the church that they are supervised when they're having contact with children. Those things are important safeguards that everybody needs to start doing right now. If you have not done any background checks on your Sunday school teachers, you have to bring them in for a conversation. Listen, this is what is happening. These things are in the news now. We have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to our congregation. We have a responsibility to God. We have a responsibility to the law to ensure that the children who are entrusted in our care are safe. So we need to start by putting things in place that we can verify to parents that we are taking the proper steps to maintain the safety of our children. So it's going to start with us. We are going to ensure that we have background screening for everyone. We're going to ensure that we're going to provide training so that you all understand why we're doing this, that you understand what abuse is, how it occurs, how people infiltrate the system to try to abuse children. And we're also going to put proper reporting mechanisms in place where we're going to identify within the women's group, within the Sunday school team, within the youth leaders team, somebody who is a focal point that we are going to make known to the church that children and other young people, you can go directly to this person if you feel uncomfortable about something that happened in Sunday school, something that happened in youth camp, and you want to speak about this, this is the person you go to. One of the things that has been a barrier for many persons that we have spoken to who have been hurt in institutional settings such as the church is that very often the only person that they're allowed to speak to is the person in charge, who may be the pastor. And in some cases, that person is a person who is implicated in wrongdoing, or that person has a vested interest in protecting the identity or the reputation of the facility more than the persons in the facility. And so they may not take it seriously. So we are encouraging identifying focal points who are in other settings of the church who may not bear that kind of reputational fear and who will be more concerned about the well-being of children, so that there are direct persons that the children can report to. This is also the similar mechanism that the Ministry of Education encourages for schools, that you have teachers as the first point of contact before even the principal. Because not everybody will want to go to the principal to report, but a child will feel more safe and empowered to report to a teacher. So do the same thing in your churches. Train the Sunday school teachers and then identify one of them who will be the focal point. Then make that known in the church. Report it in the church, put up a bulletin, put up a notice so that people know that if there's something going on that they want to talk to, these are also safe persons that they can speak to in the church. Then have a mechanism for those persons who are the focal points to understand their reporting responsibilities, to report internally to the pastor and the leaders, but also externally to the Department of Human Services, to the police. You need those external checks and balances because you need to have oversight. If your system doesn't have oversight, it is not transparent. So you have to have oversight mechanisms outside of the internal mechanisms that you have. And in addition to that, provide information to people in the church about organizations that they can go to, CDF, YES, counselors who will be operating in your community. They need to have access to those persons outside of even just the church authority, because they may, especially like for domestic violence, if somebody is in the church being abused by a deacon in the church, they may not want to go to speak to anybody in the church leadership. So they need to have other external reporting mechanisms and other agencies that the church indicates that you give them information, or on their own they find that information that they can go to and speak to. And we should encourage people to speak out against abuse. The church should not in any way give any indication that it will cover up or silence people who report or who complain about things that are wrong. The church should be willing to accept that and to walk alongside those persons in their journey of recovery.
Now, Misha, I know earlier you were going through some steps and you spoke about prayer, you spoke about acknowledging that there is an issue and that an issue needs to be addressed, and you spoke about seeking the proper outlets or the proper channels to share your experience. I don't know that you were finished, and I think it's critical that you get in one or two more of those points.
So, encourage counseling. Some churches have counselors, but I don't know if the pastoral counseling is the only kind of counseling that you will need for abuse. Our experience is that if the pastors have not been trained in understanding trauma, if they have not been trained in understanding the dynamics of abuse, then they need to get additional support. There are now a number of Christian ministries that offer counseling. If your church feels that you don't want to recommend somebody to a worldly outlet for counseling, but there are a number of Christian ministries, Rafa Healing Center in Belize City, Monarch Counseling in Belize City. We have us CDF here in Belmopan, Miss Arlette Shepherd in Belmopan. Verly has now started, Verly Lamb, her own counseling business, Artist Counseling. So there are a number of outlets that are there where you have professional trained counselors, but who also have that spiritual perspective. Because the spiritual perspective is important, because abuse in the church, people who have been abused in the church internalize that differently from people who have been abused in non-church settings. And they need somebody who can walk alongside them to address any feelings of guilt or misplaced spiritual abuse that may have been placed on them because of trying to seek help within the church, to help them to work through that so that they get healing, but also come out with their faith still intact. So having that spiritual setting for that is also important. And if the persons are coming forward that are seeking that help, those avenues should still be made available to them. If they prefer to talk to somebody with a non-church background, that's also fine. There are a number of options for counseling now in Belize. It wasn't like 20 years ago when I was just starting this where we couldn't even find one counselor. Now there are a number of options, and we want to encourage people. If you have been abused, if you have been hurt, speak out. Seek help, because you need to get help to recover from that. It's not something that's going to get better with time. Actually, time only suppresses it and makes it worse. So you want to get help to be able to work through the trauma issues, to work through the anger, to work through the grief and the loss of what has happened, and also to make reports to hold the people accountable who have caused that harm so that they don't harm others. That's also important.
That Ms. Shawn, now we're out of time, and so we want to thank you for joining us this morning to have this wonderful conversation. Let me ask, how is it going with that red BMW that you first saw?
So I have a red Nissan Pathfinder now. That's as close as I have come to the red BMW.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shaw. It's always a pleasure to have you on to give us these important insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Open your eyes. Thank you, Belize.
All right. So with that, we're going to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to have a discussion on price control, the cost of goods, the rising cost of living in a whole. We're going to have that conversation in a few. So stay tuned.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
The new school year is almost here, so it's time to end the summer with a bang. Come see kids from all over the country while they take center stage to show off their talent on Open Your Eyes Summerfest 2023. That's right, mark your calendars. Friday, August 18th at 6:30 a.m. at Channel 5 on Kona Drive. Come and start your morning right with kids singing and dancing. Also, come take advantage of great food, entertainment, and loads of back-to-school giveaways, including gifts for the first 100 kids who enter the fest. And the best thing of all, entrance is free. So, what are you waiting for? Set your alarm and pencil in that date, because Summerfest 2023 is one event you don't want to miss.
Visit Benny's today to get all your household and construction needs, from tiles to paints, electrical and plumbing supplies to power tools, lights and fans to kitchen appliances and faucets, gym equipment to household items. We have what you need. We also offer store-wide promotions for you, our customers, so you can enjoy deals and discounts all year long. To get more value for your purchase, take advantage of Benny's B-Bucks, which is free money. All you have to do is shop at any Benny's location or entity. Stop in at Benny's Home Center on Regent Street, Benny's Bargain Center on Freetown Road, Benny's Superstore 2.5 miles Philip Golson Highway, or Benny's Cayo 43 miles George Price Highway just outside Belmopan. Enjoy special offers, free delivery, and get rewarded with free money when you shop at Benny's today. Benny's, quality and savings.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her coworkers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link, she taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the split the bill button where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the request and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
And welcome back. Our second conversation this morning is with Dr. Philip Castillo. He is a lecturer at the University of Belize, and he's here to talk to us this morning about price control. Good morning, Dr. Castillo.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Belize. Thank you for having me here.
Price control, broad topic. We're living in a time when inflation is crippling us, and there is constant talk of business persons described as unscrupulous who are jacking up the prices of goods and services. How do we find a balance in terms of being able to, one, regulate and being able to perhaps rationalize why things are so expensive right now?
Well, I would start from the broader perspective. I know that government has commented on this issue. Yes. I also know that the business community through the chamber has also commented on this issue. But in terms of a broader background, we know that based on official statistics, the poverty rate in this country is 52%. And that's poverty measured by consumption, meaning at your income levels.
Yeah.
That's poverty measured from an economic perspective. But poverty was also measured broadly, meaning from other perspectives, something called multidimensional poverty. And the rate in Belize is about 36.7%. So using both measures, you could see that there's a substantially high level of poverty and deprivation in Belize. Now, to address that, one of the measures that government wants to take to address that is to focus on price controls. The theory being that if you limit price increases, that helps or benefits your poor and indigent population.
Yeah.
So that's the whole theory behind it. Now to your specific question, some of the challenges that Belize face is that we are a substantially import-dependent country, which means that if you visit your favorite supermarket, just about 90% of the things you see on the shelves are imported. Now, if we are import-dependent as we are, and prices in our trading partners are increasing, and there are certain things beyond our control, such as the cost of shipping and the supply chain issues, that impacts prices in Belize. That impacts prices when things are being imported. And then if you look at government custom duties, the various duties, I think the Prime Minister said that government hasn't raised any single tax. That's quite true. But the challenge is that some of those import duties are not, they're percentage based.
Yeah.
So if prices are going up and the import duty is 10%, then obviously the landed cost would be more.
Yeah.
And that is reflected in what you see in the market.
Because they're passing it on to the consumer.
Well, yes, because or else they would have to bear that burden, and maybe they're not in a position to do that. So that is the challenge the country faces.
What do you make of the theory or the approach of the government, or just the approach in a whole in focusing on the price control list and to say, well, if you cap a larger amount of items, an expanded list of items under the price control list, that it would in fact lead to relief?
Theoretically, economists are generally against price controls because they're difficult to implement.
Okay.
Meaning that what I understand the government wants to do is to put a control, but not a price as such, a percentage. So I think for some goods it's going to be 15%. I think for others it's going to be 20%. The issue becomes 20% or 15% of what? Of the landed cost in Belize. Now government may know that because if you're importing something, there's a range of goods, there's a range of tariffs you pay, and government would know how much the cost is. So I'm not certain if it's 15% of that, or the businessman has his own expenses. There's warehousing costs and there's labor costs and those kind of things.
Yeah.
I'm not certain if you add those in, and then that's when you put the 15%. I'm not certain. I really am not certain. We just have to wait and see what government does.
So that's one of the challenges for economists and why they are oftentimes against price controls?
Yes, because they're difficult to implement, and then there's administratively, they're also difficult to police.
Okay.
And that is our challenge.
Yeah.
I think part of what we're looking at as a Belizean society is the fact that while perhaps there is a very good and sound explanation for why things are the way they are currently, the fact that we're feeling the pinch directly in our pockets makes it difficult for us to understand whatever whatever rationale or justification is put forward by the government.
Well, true enough, but then I started by mentioning the poverty and multidimensional poverty stats. And so then it behoves government to do something. I think that price controls isn't the best way to go, but if you want to assist.
What would you suggest would be the better approach?
Well, let's use technology for example. SIB tells us the rate of inflation. But to measure inflation, SIB focuses on, I think it's around 300 goods and services, most commonly used by households. Let's focus on a few of these commodities. Let's say beans.
Yeah.
All right. Focus on the big stores in Belize City. Do you know right now what is the price of beans at these big stores in Belize City? Right now.
I just bought beans last night, but I can't remember.
Good.
And maybe not at a big store.
Right.
But then can't technology help us there? For
Yeah.
example, if these stores were forced every morning to publish their price at a ministry's website, and then the average person has access to that, so the Belize City shopper would know that the price of beans at these various stores in Belize City on Thursday morning is this. And you can use that to compare, basically. And that's a level of competition among the various stores. Obviously, the quality must be the same because there may be different kinds of beans.
Yeah.
But if you do that, if you use technology to empower consumers, then people make better decisions. And you could do that at least at a very low administration cost.
And it works for monitoring as well.
Yes, yes. And then you start with a small list, and then you expand the list. And pretty soon, just about everyone in Belize City, or everywhere, who has a phone could tap in a ministry's website and find out the prices of whatever commodity at a range of stores in their area. That enhances competition at least cost. That's what you want to encourage.
Is this a tested model anywhere?
I'm not certain if it's tested, but what I know for a fact is that in other countries, stores themselves advertise their prices. But what we'd want Belize to do is for government to do that and government to take the role in that regard. Encourage or force stores to publish their prices, main prices, on a daily basis, at least for the main commodities that people buy. It can't be everything because these stores would have something like 9,000 goods. So you want to focus on the main commodities that people buy.
The primary
Yeah,
300.
the primary goods.
Interesting. Now, I want to, if I could, Sani, we talk about inflation often and the fact that we import inflation, and primarily it's due to the fact that we depend so heavily on import.
Yes.
Right? So is it that then to say that a huge part of the solution is increasing our production capacity, or what we produce here in Belize, and consuming more of what we produce? Is that the straightforward solution to the increasing inflation that we're facing?
Well, it certainly would contribute to the solution. But bear in mind that what we produce, the raw materials for most of the things that we produce are also imported. So that's a challenge. So yes, you want to do that. You want to produce more. And then, having produced more Belizean things, or things in Belize, you want them to be of quality such that your Belizean consumers would buy those things. You always want to do that, and that ought to be an aim of government policy. But the reality is we import things to also produce. We import our raw materials, and that's also a fact.
Forgive me if I describe that as somewhat theoretical or ideal in a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
But you also have to look at the consumer's psyche, the Belizean consumer's frame of mind when he or she walks into a store. It has been ingrained in our society for so long that things that are produced locally are never up to scratch with things that are imported into the country. It's just the way we think as Belizeans, that Belizean products aren't good enough. It doesn't matter the quality, it doesn't matter how much you've invested in packaging and putting something forward that is actually off standard. It's just the mentality that we have. And so if you look at that against the fact that we don't have enough industries to be able to produce the kinds of goods and services that we need locally, which then turns us to have to import from other countries in the region or elsewhere. If you look at those two things, they are completely, I would say, diametrically opposed to each other. If you look at the fact that my mentality and the fact that we don't have enough businesses or industries that are able to produce locally, those two things don't stand in line.
Well, that's where the government and the chamber, I think, ought to work together cooperatively to change that perspective. So then, the chamber would focus on Buy Belize campaigns, and then the government would use its power to change import duties or to adjust import duties such that imported competition goods are substantially more expensive. And eventually, perspectives will change.
Yeah, because one would want to imagine that the path that we are currently on is unsustainable and would prove to be unsustainable over the next decade or 2 or 3 for the generations to come.
Well, when you say unsustainable, there's substantial truth to that, because if you look at our balance of trade, our import bill has always been substantially more expensive. Sometimes I think it's about 300% more than what we earn from exports. We generally make it up in services, in the service sector. But focusing specifically on imports, because that has been our challenge. Imports, the cost of imports have been increasing, specifically food imports. And that is what manifests itself in our inflation rate.
So let's talk a bit about that then. Just for one example, and I keep using this example this week because it's was one of those hot button conversations on social media. Help us to understand why, for example, last week you purchased a tin of chicken sausage for $1.50, and this week or 2 weeks later you go to the store and that $1.50 chicken sausage is now at $3.50 in some places.
More than doubled.
$4.
Wow.
So how do you explain that? And I know the first reaction for any consumer is frustration. Only they chance me. But there's some explanation to that, why it happens that way, right?
Stop eating chicken sausage.
You could do that. You may want to do that.
Of course.
Yes, if that happens, you're looking at over 100% increase in 1 day, basically.
In a week.
In a week. That's the way how that happens, what the businessman would tell you is that when they import something, if they import a new amount of chicken sausage at a higher price, basically, is that whatever amount is in their existing storeroom, they also increase the price. And that kind of explains that. It's not the, it may not be an explanation that the consumers accept, but it is the explanation that the businessmen put forward, that they are now importing a commodity whose prices have gone up. So yes, they may have more of this commodity in their storeroom, but then the prices have gone up for the whole thing. The ones in the storeroom, they also increase that price.
Which doesn't which is not fair to the consumer, because look, Doc, to me it's a simple thing, right?
Yeah.
You have items that are in the storeroom.
Yes,
inventory. And then you have your inventory.
Yeah.
An existing supply of whatever goods you have there. And then you know that the price goes up. You should, in my opinion,
for
you should be able to... For a new stock.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I believe that you should deplete your existing stock before you apply the new price, and inform sufficiently that, look, hey, the cost of this item has gone up, and as a result, we will be raising the price of it. I think that is a more responsible approach than one day it's one price, the next day it's another price. And you're not, as the consumer, prepared to meet that sudden difference in what you are there to spend. Argument's sake, you go there with 50 cents to buy a pack of noodles in the first instance.
Yeah.
You reach there, the next day it's $1. You didn't go there with $1, you went there with 50 cents because yesterday when you purchased it, it was at 50 cents. Nobody said, okay, you know what? This is what's coming next, and we will inform you that the price will be raised as of such and such date. And that's because they have inventory that they can lean on and finish that up before applying the new price.
And that's why you want to enhance competition, because there may be some businessmen who want to apply the new price to the old inventory, but others may not want to do that. So if the consumers had a website or had some way of knowing what the prices are at the various stores, then that enhances competition. So that is why you want competition. That is why you want to foster competition. And you do not want to do that administratively, because it's going to be a challenge. You can't have inspectors going to these various stores because that's extremely expensive. And in any case, it will involve the court process, etc. So you want to enhance competition in such a way without using the court process.
Your suggestion or your thought on perhaps why is it that this price gouging task force that we have sought to implement, and we've even gone as far as legislating it, why that may have not taken off from the ground, and why that approach doesn't seem to be yielding any sort of success or relief that it was meant to bring forth?
Well, I'm not certain, as you say, if they've taken off. I know that, as you rightly say, it has been established, and the framework is there. But their hands are full, basically, if their approach would be to address competition or to address these challenges in the traditional way, like seeking to go to these various stores and find their price and take them to court and those kind of things. I see multiple challenges with that approach.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've always pondered the idea of the unions being prepared to offer or lend assistance in terms of the kind of oversight that is necessary to ensure that business owners are in line with the actual cost of goods and services. But how are they going to do that when, let's face it, the union members have their regular 8 to 5 job? What time would they have to go out there and provide this kind of supervision?
No, you could second them. I think there is that possibility, meaning that the secondment process is well established in the public service. And
fair, but you're looking at you're looking at a countrywide initiative, so to speak. You can't second them all.
Hundreds
no, but then isn't there a supplies control unit? Isn't there a Ministry of Trade that is responsible for doing these things?
But human resources become the problem, Doc.
Yeah.
Right? So while, yes, you have an identified and designated group of people doing that, you don't have enough of them to be able to canvass the entire country. Because while you're focused on Stan Creek, the person in Corozal just raised up the price and nobody's there to monitor or supervise what just took place.
Then what you want is selective persecution, meaning that if businesses know that this unit exists and that this unit has made some well-publicized initiatives, that even that in itself may adjust the behavior of businessmen elsewhere. That is a possibility.
Interesting. What's the possibilities, or what would be right? Well, let me ask the possibilities of something happening at the import fee level. I know there's a lot of taxes and duties for imports that the business owner has to take on when they're bringing in products. How flexible would you say the government can be in lowering the cost of those fees for import, and would that lead to any sort of relief or reduction in prices for consumers? Because Belizeans are asking, all right, so why government no lower the tax at import?
Well, that's the catch-22 question, because government's revenues substantially depend on taxes. I think it's around 90% of government's revenues dependent on taxes. Yep. So government need those taxes to pay the civil servants and to do the many other things that government does. Taxes, import duties, etc., provide a substantial bulk of government's revenues, and government may be loath to want to reduce those taxes because that reduces its intake. That's a challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
that is the actual catch-22.
Yeah. Right. And so it's definitely I believe they did that or sought that to take that approach with the price of fuel.
They did it with fuel. Yes, they did it with fuel. Fuel would have been a special situation. I think that the price you pay at the pump, I think more than half of that is various taxes. You obviously, in an economy like Belize, where we import just about most of our fuel needs, if the price of fuel goes substantially high, it affects many other things. It affects production, it affects transportation, and those kind of things. There's a ripple effect through the entire economy. So you want to, where fuel is concerned, where fuel specifically as the driver of the local economy is concerned, you want to cap the price at some level. We may argue about the level, but certainly you want to cap the price, because to the extent that fuel prices keep on increasing, that impact on local development and production.
I'd like to get your thoughts on the employment market in Belize, if you could. Yeah. I know that the government is boasting a record low unemployment rate of 2.5%. 2.8%. Thank you for that. Yeah. What's your thoughts on it? Are you in fact seeing an increase in employment, more people working? Because there are questions, because on the ground people are saying, and not everyone, but there are individuals saying, well, I'm still not working, and a majority of my community is still looking for jobs.
Well, maybe they are working, because the definition of unemployment, or the definition, has changed. For you to be considered unemployed in Belize, you must meet 3 criteria. One, you must not be working. 2, you must be available for work. And 3, it's not working, available for work, and looking for work. Let's look at the first one, not working. We define work as anything you do for pay, profit, or family gain for 1 hour in a 1-week period. That is the ILO standard definition of work. So some persons on the street side, from their perspective, if they are washing cars, they may think that they are not working, but they are working. Officially, they are working. Washing a car and getting paid for it is a job. So the definition has changed, and to the extent that the definition has changed, that might affect how persons see their unemployment status. I must also say, I must put out there that I'm a member of the SIB Board of Directors. So perhaps my response is partial. But yes, I agree with the unemployment data as presented, and I'm aware that the definition has changed, and I accept the data as presented by SIB.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, Doc, as always, it's a pleasure to have you to just have these discussions. I find that when you come on, we could have open discussions about these sort of topics and share our thoughts. And that's one of the things that Belizeans generally appreciate about you being on and us having these conversations. Any final thoughts?
Well, thanks for the opportunity. I always appreciate the chance of speaking well on this show and on other shows, speaking about economic issues from an academic perspective. We have our politicians pushing their perspective. We have the chamber pushing its perspective. We'd also want a balance from academia pushing its perspective. So from that perspective, pushing academia's perspective and trying to balance the other perspectives that are out there. I appreciate these opportunities.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Doc. With that, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to switch things up a bit to have a discussion about a Korean food market here in Belize. Yeah, don't want to miss that conversation.
Get ready, babe. We're going on a vacation.
Finally, where are we going?
Don't worry, babe. I have we covered.
Are you sure you know where we're going?
Yes, babe. Oh, right there, see? Babe, the price me too good to be true. Me look much more better in that picture.
When life throws you a curveball, Belize Bank has your back. With our online financing, you can turn any vacation mishap into a dream getaway.
Cheers to Belize Bank for making our dream vacation a reality.
Thanks to you, babes, to turn things around.
No thanks to you, cheapo.
Ouch.
Experience the future of financing with Belize Bank online, where you can secure funds for anything, from anywhere, at any time, all without stepping foot in a bank. Apply for a loan today and unlock a world of possibilities.
The new school year is almost here, so it's time to end the summer with a bang. Come see kids from all over the country while they take center stage to show off their talent on Open Your Eyes Summerfest 2023. That's right, mark your calendars. Friday, August 18th at 6:30 a.m. at Channel 5 on Kona Drive. Come and start your morning right with kids singing and dancing. Also, come take advantage of great food, entertainment, and loads of back-to-school giveaways, including gifts for the first 100 kids who enter the fest. And the best thing of all, entrance is free. So, what are you waiting for? Set your alarm and pencil in that date because Summerfest 2023 is one event you don't want to miss.
Sign up for Smart Share Plan and save big. Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
All right, and we are back with our third conversation for this morning, and it's all about the Korean Food Mart, and we have in with us Hadassah Cho, and she's the manager at the Korean Food Mart.
Yes.
Good morning, Hadassah. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I am interested in hearing more about the Korean Food Mart. Well, first of all, where you guys are located, and what are some of your offerings?
Well, we are located inside Korea Electronics. It's a small section as we're just starting out. And that's located on 77 Freetown Road next to Cinderella Plaza, right by the stoplights. Right? So you have to see us.
I know exactly where it is now that you mentioned it. So so if you go into Korean Electronics, it's hard to miss that little area that has some of the, it's like a market area with food items.
Right. So we have it divided, left and right. So the left section would be all the Korean food items. On the right side is where, you do your watch repairs or you buy an electronic. And so usually people go and they drop off their watch to fix and they say, hey, makatakali, look around, right? And that's when they notice, right, that we have all the food products. So, they take a look and they end up buying,
What do those food products include?
Well, we have different types of sauces. We have also a few frozen products. We just started bringing in special Korean drinks, right? And we also have spicy ramen. Okay. So that's the TikTok challenge these days, where you try to find, the ramen that bonyo the most.
And you eat it on video.
Yes, exactly. And so we have all the different flavors of the spicy ramen.
So what is Korean cuisine? And beyond ramen in this case, what else is there for us to discover or try?
Right, so Korean food, I will say, generally is consisting of these flavors. They're spicy, most of all spicy, sweet and salty. So combining all those flavors, I would say, is Korean food, right? And one of the most popular dishes is a side dish called kimchi. It's a fermented cabbage, has a lot of probiotics, it's good for you. And people eat this along with whatever you're having for your meal. Because Korean cuisine has, I will say, if you have a table, right, with your main dish, you have about 20 to 30 side dishes. So you really get full of Korean food, yes. So kimchi is one of the main side dishes that you would eat along to accompany your main food.
And in terms of your drink options, like what can be expected? I know it's not the usual drinks that Belizeans are accustomed to.
Well, we did bring in some to relate, right? So it's not too rare for you to be like, okay, I don't want to go too extreme, right? So we did bring in some products that you can relate to. So we have some types of lemonades. We have Korean pouch drinks, which is the craze these days, right? You watch these videos where you go into food convenience stores in Korea, and it's a pouch drink. So you rip it open and you pour it into a cup of ice, right? So we brought those in. And so we also have different Korean milks, flavored milks, melon, peach, original. There's all these different types of milks,
How does your import strategy work in terms of liaising with stores in Korea? Is that, do you get your products directly from producers in Korea? How does it work?
Well, at the moment, we've started with a wholesaler in the States, right?
Okay, good.
So they bring it from Korea, they import it from Korea, and then we purchase it from them. We want to transition over now where we bring it directly from Korea. So we're still working on that at the moment.
And I imagine that will cut your costs as well.
Yes,
in terms
by a lot, of course.
In terms of cutting out the middleman.
What has been the demand from the Belizean public for Korean cuisine?
I mean, it all comes back to the ramen, to be honest. It's the ramen and those pouch drinks. I will say they like to pair those two together because that's really what you're seeing all over social media. That's what they're accustomed to seeing, and so they come straight into the store and they look only for those products, right? And so my main goal of Korean Food Mart is to try to expand their knowledge on Korean food, because it's not only, spicy noodles or milk, right? We have so much more to offer. So that's the purpose of, what I have behind Korean Food Mart.
What was the inspiration behind establishing this Mart?
To be able to tell you that story, I have to go way back.
Let's go.
Way back. So like I said, we're just an expansion of Korea Electronics, which has been established for over more than 30 years, right? And so when my parents first migrated here, they were one of the first Koreans living in Belize. I'm daring enough to say that there are only or less than 100 Koreans living in the entire country of Belize. So we're a rare breed.
Yeah,
yes. In comparison to, the Japanese, the Chinese, the Taiwanese, you rarely hear of Koreans because our population is extremely low, right? And so it wasn't until around the time of COVID that we had people coming into the store and they started, asking questions like, oh, what does this dish taste like? Or, what's your favorite Korean pop band? So we started to see a rise in the popularity of the Korean culture. And so, as a family, we came together and we decided what's the best way to share our culture? And it's food, right? That's the main,
That's the best
aspect.
Way to share any
exactly,
culture.
exactly. So, we decided to expand on our business and share, that same culture through food.
What's the vision or the goal that you're visualizing for Korean Food Mart? Are we looking at an expansion in the future?
Spoiler alert, yes. Yes, we are trying to expand more into a convenience store kind of style where you can come in, you make your own ramen, you can sit down, you can have your drinks. Yes. And, we also want to try and do more takeouts because we were doing it, I would say, once every month, a special takeout menu. So you would try a new Korean dish every month, right? So we kept that going for about a year. We kind of stopped recently, but we want to, bring it back.
Okay, that's quite interesting. And I see the vision for the expansion in terms of having a location where customers can come and make their ramen, their noodles.
Yes.
You call it noodles, right?
Yes.
Right, and consume that while there and just try the different flavors and products. So that's something I would look forward to, and that's something I would definitely go and try. I see you also have a website.
Yes, we do.
Tell
I
me
created
a
that
bit about
myself. Honestly, I'm no expert. I just, in the corner of my office, I just tried to do what I could. And, it was just a way for people to order because we have a lot of countrywide, orders. And so we tend to ship out our products more than we have people come into the store physically, right? And so that was the main purpose of the website, so that everybody, countrywide could access all our products.
Okay.
Yes.
It's amazing what all ideas and business ventures COVID spawned. I mean, while we look at it as something that kind of brought us to a standstill across the world, that time away, so to speak, forced us to come up with innovative ideas. And so when I look at the rise of the Korean Food Mart out of COVID, it's one of those interesting stories, I must say that.
Yes, and I do hear often, people say, well, I tired of eat the same food, right? You have the same types of options, especially in restaurants in Belize. And so our takeout menus gave, them a new option for them that, that day. And so we were very happy and pleased with the response and feedback of all our customers.
All right, so remind us where we can find you one more time. And if individuals are interested in contacting you to find out if you may have this or that product, how can they get in contact with you?
Yes, so you can find us inside Korea Electronics at 77 Freetown Road here in Belize City. If not, you can also reach out to us on our different social media platforms. We have Facebook, Korean Food Mart. We also have Instagram, kfoodmart.bz. And you can also reach out to us on our WhatsApp number.
And can you make orders and have stuff delivered to you?
Yes, of course. We do take any orders that you have and we ship it countrywide, wherever you need.
Wow, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for introducing us on Open Your Eyes to Korean Food Mart. I think it's such an excellent idea, and I'm certainly looking forward, as I'm sure others are, to that expansion.
It was an honor being here. Thank you.
All right, so with that, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's all about sporting activities in the capital city. You don't want to miss that conversation. Stay tuned.
Make your summer better. over $30,000 in cash and prizes with Smart Summer Sweepstakes. Here's how you can enter for a chance to win. Sign up for a Smart postpaid, broadband, or VoIP plan. Use $100 or more regular prepaid credit. Do a SIM swap or text in to the short code 786. In the body of the message, enter the number of entries you would like to purchase.
No waste no time. You can be the winner of weekly prizes. All methods give you more chances to win local airline tickets, overnight stays at numerous resorts, cash prizes, gift certificates, and much, much more. One lucky person will win the grand prize valued at $10,000, courtesy of Mart and the Belize Tourism Board.
Promotion ends September 15th. So make your summer better by getting in the race to win with Smart's Summer Sweepstakes. Smart, bringing people together.
KTV The Remix Season 5, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Come on out and win fabulous prizes and the chance to compete in our halftime challenge. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Pony Drive and 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard. $3 for children and $5 for adults. Or catch it live on Channel 5, Facebook, and YouTube every Tuesday at 8 p.m. from the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. Don't miss KTV The Remix Season 5. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
How does investment services work? For example, Joe's Construction wants to expand its operations by purchasing new equipment and hiring additional staff. How can Joe's Construction get an investment loan? The answer: Investment Services appraises the loan application and focuses on two key areas: adequate collateral and repayability. Investment Services will also consider how Belizeans and the economy will benefit from this new investment through job creation and business growth. The terms and conditions for Joe's Construction loan will be based on the purpose and cash flow. After recommendation and approval, the loan is disbursed. SSB remains committed to proper management of the fund through prudent and responsible investments for the benefit of its beneficiaries, employers, and the Belizean economy. Social Security Board, an investment for you, your family, your future.
The new school year is almost here, so it's time to end the summer with a bang! Come see kids from all over the country while they take center stage to show off their talent on Open Your Eyes Summerfest 2023. That's right, mark your calendars. Friday, August 18th at 6:30 a.m. at Channel 5 on Kona Drive. Come and start your morning right with kids singing and dancing. Also, come take advantage of great food, entertainment, and loads of back-to-school giveaways, including gifts for the first 100 kids who enter the fest. And the best thing of all, entrance is free. So, what are you waiting for? Set your alarm and pencil in that date because Summerfest 2023 is one event you don't want to miss.
And welcome back. Our final segment this morning is a conversation with our friends from the National Sports Council, as well as our good friend from the Board of Directors for the Sports Council. We have with us in studio this morning Kaya Katoos and Tariq Kano. Good morning, folks.
Morning. Morning.
And we are here to discuss sporting activities taking place in the capital city, correct?
Capital city and throughout the country.
And throughout the country. Brilliant.
There you go.
Where do we begin from?
Well, I could start by talking about a bit about what's happening in Belmopan.
Correct.
No?
Yeah.
In Belmopan, we have started a new event called the 5K Exhibition Match, no?
Yeah.
Which currently Mr. Paul's home village is they're the current champions, no? Camalote.
Right.
We turned into somewhat of a boxing match via football, if you'd call it that. Each Camalote won, so they've been challenged now by 7 miles from through the Mountain Pine Ridge Road, no? And we're hoping to continue this to help develop football and also raise funds to be able to, you know, facilitate what's happening at Isidore and to help support other sporting disciplines in the area, no? And that is something that, along with the director, Ms. Centeno, and working with Kai as well, we're trying to emulate that throughout the entire country eventually, so that we could start generating our own funds to help better the situation in sports in the country. No?
I think the cash prize alone is super attractive for any team. When you say one match, I win 5K if you win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? But let's talk about how that has helped to rekindle a fire for the sport or the discipline, not only among teams, but among fans.
Well, that was the idea, no? To get similar to boxing, you only make money unless the fans are interested and you have 2 great fighters, no?
Yeah.
Same, we're trying to emulate that with the teams and getting the fans involved. The more fans, the better. The more opportunity to generate funds to help what we're trying to do, it becomes. And we believe 5,000 is a fair amount of the earnings, no, that we do bring in. So, and we hope to let other institutions such as FFB and the others see what we're doing and try to do the same with their football leagues as well, no?
So when is the next 5K match?
It's September 2nd.
September, that's 2 weekends from now.
2 weekends from now. You guys are welcome to come. Yeah, be better than Sir Barbo and Bash.
Yeah.
That's what you're up against that weekend. Let's get Kaya in on the conversation here. Kaya, talk to us about your involvement with this particular initiative and other activities taking place in and around Belmopan and across the country.
Well, when it comes to these initiatives, first of all, it is no secret that the budget that the Sport Council has to work with annually is not a great sum. So what we're trying to do with these initiatives is find a way to fundraise where we can put what we raise towards other sporting events and primarily or primary school sporting events that happen annually throughout the country in the 5 different disciplines of football, basketball, volleyball, softball, and track and field. So that was our idea behind trying to raise funds to basically disseminate it across the sports across the country.
So this initiative is a part of raising funds for the council to continue its initiatives.
Correct. So the National Sports Council has 9 different offices, either within a district or a municipality. So that comes from Corozal to Punta Gorda. And in all of these district offices, this is the blueprint that we're trying to take there. However, Mr. Kano is the one who came up with the idea and started it in Belmopan. So it is now, it's not only now on paper, but it has happened and we have seen that it works. So now it will be spread across the country.
What's the buy-in from other stakeholders in various parts of the country? I know that this has taken off in Belmopan and it's an effective model using that particular municipality, but what's the level of interest, say, for instance, from Punta Gorda or folks out in San Pedro as a municipality?
Well, when we go to the different districts, we won't per se only do football, but it will be the sport that is most popular in whatever area.
Yeah.
So the buy-in all over will definitely be big.
I think it's a no-brainer. The fact that you are the sports council after all, and on one hand you're helping to rekindle the fire and the love for sports in various municipalities and communities across the country, and on the other hand you're using that purpose which you are tasked with to also raise funds to continue that work, and so I wonder why it took us so long to come up with these types of ideas, But definitely, I also want to get your take on the fact that this summer saw sports at another level for Belize. I mean, let's just get your initial take or response to the performances that we saw in various disciplines and how the Sports Council contributed to ensuring that these teams were prepared to compete.
So we're talking about medals in volleyball, basketball, athletics, podiums in cycling, powerlifting. You are right, it has been multiple sports that has seen success over the summer. And I really want to attribute a lot of it to our new path that we are going at the Sport Council under the leadership of Director Centeno. And the energy that she brings to the council, definitely meeting with these federations and trying to see how best that the Sport Council can support them. And while it may not have been financially in the initial stages, it may have been with the usage of facility or the usage of personnel or whatever that may have been in the initial stages. But definitely along that path, no?
Yeah, exactly. No, there's a new vision at the Sports Council, and it's something that inspires people that are passionate like myself and Kat to even do a better job to ensure that we can move sports farther in the country. And, you know, it's something that I think will continue in the months to come and years to come. I hope whoever succeeds us continue the same trend, no? And it just goes to show, you know, parents that there's possibility for your children. If they love sports, push them, and I'm not telling you need a 8 to 5. Then sports could bring in the money too. Yeah. Get behind them, show them love and support, and you see these kids reach far. You know, family support has a lot to do with people turning pro, making it outside, and getting those scholarships outside as well. So let your kids dream big and flourish what means something to them, and just don't let them give up on it.
I think what I'm seeing is an infusion of new and young spirit into sports. And I think what we've seen over the past several weeks is a manifestation of that, right? Not only from the Sports Council or the administrative level, but from the actual athletes who are participating in these various events. You're seeing a lot more younger people who are participating, a lot more younger people who are administrating and dealing with logistics as well. And I think it bodes well for us because for many years, you don't really hear about Belize performing well in any particular discipline.
Correct.
And so I personally have dubbed this summer as the summer of the Belizean athlete because wherever we go, we're promoting some kind of an event where young Belizeans are taking part. And for the most part, we've been able to medal. If not gold, at least we've been able to make the podium and make the country proud.
Definitely.
Yes, and you're right with that. Rightly said that there's a group of athletes that are inspired right now, and we have a younger generation of administrators across the board in various areas, no? I believe even like in, for example, like use powerlifting, I believe the president is probably 23 years old, 24. So that is the type of vision and energy these young people have, which will help us in the next few years to elevate all across the country in different disciplines as well, no?
What's one of the key contributions that the Sports Council can make to maintain this sort of momentum throughout the weeks and months to come?
Well, while we don't have a big budget, what we're trying to do is partner with these various sporting disciplines to help them fundraise and support in whatever small way we can, whether it be, you know, support from our directors that fall on Akayaka too, so the sporting coordinators and stuff like that, no, to help support different initiatives that they're doing. We're giving a helping hand. It might not necessarily be only monetary, no, but it's a hand-in-hand process, and we're willing to work with them, and I'm sure they're willing to work with us, no.
I commended the effort when I saw the Sports Council join forces with the Powerlifting Association in terms of all the preparatory work that they were doing to try to get to the Cayman Islands and participate. I believe it was another member of the Sports Council who had sat on this very same set with us discussing those initiatives in terms of partnership and what have you. Is there any other event that's coming up in the short term that we could look forward to in terms of either the Sports Council joining forces with another organization?
We have the Belize City Half Marathon coming up on the 24th of September, I believe. And this is where the National Sports Council partners with the Belize City Council.
Yeah.
And the half marathon is something that, this is the 3rd annual, and it is something that we are trying to have evolve into one of the marathons that the runners have on their calendar for the year. You have the Boston Marathon, the New York Marathon, the London Marathon, and these are all big events. So this is something that started small, and we started it at half because most of our runners here aren't at that 26-mile marker yet, right? So we aimed for half of that, which is the 13.1. And it has been going good so far. This year we're aiming for 200 participants. Last year we had
are we bringing in
just
the
under
Kenyans?
100.
Because the Kenyans are world renowned for...
we need to have a bigger cash prize for that. But where we are right now, it's a $1,000 cash prize, and the prizes are equal across the board for men and women. Nice. We give 10 deep in the 13.1 mile race, and then we also have a 10K and a 5K, which are shorter races for people who are aiming for that half marathon but are building themselves to that point. Right?
So within that 200, you often have individuals that are well trained and experienced, and those that are only now getting in and may not have any sort of, I don't say any sort of fitness, but has a
less
low
experience.
level of experience, correct?
Yeah, and we have the top runners in the country like Dion O'Brien and Davis from the Coast Guard, some runners from the Coast Guard, the police department, the BDF, and we have the biggest running team in the country, the splash runners who hail from Placencia. So the West Track guys, we have people coming in from down south, Corozal, Orange Walk, out west. So you know it's definitely a race that has been on the running calendar every year for the past 3 years, and we hope to have this evolved into one of the big marathons. And we chose the month of September because that is our celebration time, and what better time to get sport tourism to come to your country than in your celebration month.
So talk a bit about, if you would, do you have the route as yet in terms of how it will run?
The route has been set, and I have it on the back of my hand, literally. It starts and finishes at the Marian Jones Sporting Complex. It comes out into Princess Margaret Drive, goes up Coney Drive, goes out into the Philip Golson Highway, all the way up to the roundabout by Reimers Feed Mill, and comes back down, makes a right at the West Track roundabout across Chetamal Street Boulevard into the area by the hub, makes a left onto the George Price Highway, comes all the way down to the roundabout with the hand on the boulevard, makes a right down the boulevard to the Farbers Road junction at the stoplight, and it takes a U-turn there, and then it comes all the way down the boulevard to across the bridge, the swing bridge, and when it gets to Sayview, the roundabout by Sayview, it makes a right onto Freetown, comes all the way down, makes a right onto Map Street, left onto Northfront Street, over the, no, that's swing bridge. Downtown.
And Albert Street.
And Albert Street. It passes the Belize City Council, it goes Albert Street all the way down to St. John's Church, comes up Regent Street, back across the bridge, and then it goes Northfront Street into the tourism village, Princess Margaret Drive, Marine Parade, Princess Margaret Drive, back into the Marian Jones. So it's literally a run in the city.
I was just going to say
and that's 13.1 miles?
13.1 miles.
Interesting, right? I was just going to say that's one of the things I love about that route. The fact that it's a run in the city. You're not going out of the city.
Correct.
And so you should be able to draw as many spectators wherever you are, because it's,
And it does. I mean, people come out in the early morning, and because it starts at 6 a.m., people come out in the early morning on a Sunday, and you know they view this run, and the past 2 years we have also partnered with Boeing, and they set up water stations. We have 7 water stations along the road where we offer crystal water and Powerade. So I mean, the runners have their own service crew who follow them oftentimes on motorcycles or in vehicles. So you know it is something that I mean, we started with 45 runners. Last year we had just under 90, and this year we hope to hit that 200 marker.
For those who want to simply do the 5K, it's a shorter route, right? And they'll end before all of this.
Correct. So the half marathon starts at 6, and then the 10K starts at 6:05, and the 5K starts at 6:10. Now those also start and finish at the Marian Jones, but when they get onto Princess Margaret Drive, they make a left, and they go to the roundabout where Golden Bay is, and come back to Marian Jones. The 5K is 1 lap, and the 10K is 2 laps of that.
Okay, so you would debrief, participants when they're there? Or?
Yes, so we have a website set up with total times. Registration and everything is done online. Okay. And all the information for the run is on that site.
Okay,
right?
what's the site?
TotalTimesBZ.com.
TotalTimesBZ.com. That's definitely one of the events we look forward to in September.
For sure.
The question is, which one will Channel 5 sign up for? The 10K, 5K, or the 4K?
The 5K, we're Channel 5. Come on. We're not Channel 10.
If it's being televised, I'll watch it on 4K.
Yeah, so I mean, apart from the 5K and the marathon, the half marathon, anything else right now that can be looked forward to? Any sort of other events?
Well, the primary schools, that activities are being heading by Kai. I think that's starting soon too now.
Yeah, well, school opens in the beginning of September, and as soon as the celebration finishes, our primary school events start, and we start with the sport of basketball. And this is where schools or district offices have a regional competition in their area, and we bring the first place in both the male and female category to what we call the National Primary School Competition. So that starts with volleyball in September, and it runs throughout the school year all the way to June. So we have volleyball, then basketball, then we go into track and field, softball, and we conclude with football.
I just want to bring up one more topic because I know it's a huge conversation for the sporting community, and I know the council plays a role in the area of sporting facilities and the development of sporting facilities. And I would imagine that a huge part of raising funds is to also assist in that area. Let's talk about the thoughts of the council when it comes to developing, upgrading sporting facilities across the country. I'm sure you've heard the conversation and even the cries.
Yes, we have now, and there's some partnership that's already been done. Example happened with the Berger Field now. In Bemopan currently, we're looking at developing also the Isidora back again. We're right now renovating the bathrooms, and also we're going to renovate the locker rooms now, and we also have been renovating the bleachers. And that's something that we, with the fundraising countrywide, we intend to do at various steps along the way to help the different facilities now. And also in the municipalities that we're hoping for a partnership with the town councils or city councils to also develop those other facilities as well. That is in the pipeline. And I do believe you guys will be seeing another super field in Belize City soon too, as early as next year.
Nice. Yeah, the MCC is definitely on paper to be renovated.
Well, that's long in the making.
It's long in the making, but it seems that it is something that will come to fruition now, as well as the football field at the Marian Jones. The Marian Jones is the hub for the National Sports Council. That's where our offices are, and that is where we try to have all of our primary school sporting events that are hosted in Belize City. So the Mexico Center is currently under renovation as well, and we hope to have that up and running at least by December of this year.
You know, the MCC facility was in somewhat a state of disrepair prior to Hurricane Lisa last year. Hurricane Lisa just came and made things worse. But every time we pass there, it seems as if though nothing is being done to, bring it back to some form of its former glory. And I'm glad that you've mentioned that some attention will be paid to MCC and bring it back, because it's such a historic part of sports in our country. I mean, as children growing up, keep hearing about MCC grounds for football and all these other forms of activities.
Correct. And it is in hopes of stadiums like this, when we also do our fundraising and, different things to bring back. But the partnerships with the bigger organizations and entities are what will, in the end, see stadiums like these come back to life.
Yeah. I think the private sector also has a huge role to play and must continue to realize their roles and responsibilities in developing sports in the country, because when you invest in developing sports, you also invest in security, you invest in the development of your country. These youths, they have more to do and less free time on their hands to cause mischief and be involved in crime and all of that stuff.
Agreed.
So thank you both so much for joining us on set to just have this conversation with us about the updates and what's taking place within the Sports Council. Let me just ask for your final thoughts.
Well, support sports. That's all I want to say to the people. Support sports. If your kids have a sport that they love, push them. You never know, they might be the next Kayakatus, they might be the next Oscar Kiros, Brighton Cad, and the list goes on. So, support these children in their dreams, and you'll see the benefit of it. And we urge the community and the country in a whole to give the Sports Council a hand in doing so.
I like that as a hashtag, support sports. You should think about that and run with that.
Yeah.
I definitely want to reiterate to the general public, Sports Council is now on a new trend, if I may say, and follow our social media pages. There's a lot of energy that has been put into it now. Sport across the country is now getting more attention, and it's seeing the light of day as it has always deserved. So support the Sport Council, support sports in general, and let's watch this thing grow.
All right, well, both of you, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And so with that, Isani, we've come to the end of our show for this morning. If you have a birthday, we want to say happy birthday to you out there. And we do hope you have a wonderful birthday. We hope you get cake. We hope you get celebrated. We hope that it's a wonderful and fun Thursday for you. Don't overdo it. The weekend is right here. We still have to go to work tomorrow, so take it easy. But if you have a birthday shout out, a question, a concern, you could always drop us a line on our email at oie@channel5belize.com. You could also catch us live on Facebook every single weekday morning on Open Your Eyes BZ, and always for our highlights and behind the scenes coverage, you could catch us on Instagram at oiebelize.com. But until tomorrow, be sure to join us tomorrow when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
But until then, be sure to keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Goodbye. It's been a pleasure.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.